Joe Biden promised never to pardon Hunter.
Did he keep his promise, though?
Let's talk about it, y'all.
Middle America.
You ain't black.
I don't know what I said.
The first time ever any...
What are you people?
We're Americans. We are Americans indeed. My name is Vincent.
I'm Soraya.
And this is Middle America.
With Vin and Sori.
Where we are not left-wing.
We're not right-wing.
We're just right. All right, dear listener.
We are the media. Let's say it right at the beginning.
We are the media.
That's been ours.
All the media, contrary to popular opinion, contrary to certain billionaires stealing our taglines.
How dare you?
How dare you, Mr. Musk? All right, dear listener, we've got a doozy here. We might do two stories. First story is Mr. Hunter Biden was in some legal trouble. He was in some legal trouble, and his father promised to uphold the rule of law and treat everybody fairly. And so because of this, he could not pardon his son Hunter, who was found guilty for whatever he was found guilty for. To be quite honest with you, dear listener, I have not been following the Hunter Biden story. And part of the reason I haven't been following the Hunter Biden story is that I always knew it was going to end this way.
Really?
Now, obviously, you cannot know how something is going to end until the end actually happens. But it be what it be. Trump's tweet attacking any nation that wishes not to use the U.S. dollar is possibly a mistake. It's possibly a mistake. It's depending on how much pain Americans are willing to withstand in order to maintain that leverage. But we will talk about that relative to the tariffs. Ben, the editor, says, I do not blame a father for pardoning his son. I do blame the president for being a liar. Okay. All right. All right. So let's check it out. The team over at Breaking Points has the story. We will be commenting like normal. Also, if you want to continue the conversation with such legends as Applejack, etc., you can go to facebook.com/America Middle. It is a free speech environment. So be forewarned.
Be careful.
Be forewarned.
It's not for the faint of heart.
It's not for the faint of heart. It's not that it's never regulated. We have, I think, you dox somebody, you're out, that type of thing. But as far as like, oh, this person said this to hurt my feelings, a racist, blah, 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 that's not the type of environment we're in. Call in if you disagree. If you disagree with any of the points that we're making, Middle America is not an echo chamber, dear listener. We really mean it. If you have an idea or if you have a position that is contrary to that of the host, that would be yours truly and hers truly, then you have the right as a Middle American to interrupt, call BS, and say your piece. One of your Discord guys was going to boot me. Well, there you go.
Oh, no.
Hopefully they understand that considering you're related to one of the owners of the channel, hopefully they take that into account, inshallah.
Yeah, be careful.
Be careful. By the way, I don't really run my mods. My mods run the various pages. I've been silenced one time on my own page by one of my mods. So don't come to me if you got beef with the mods. We made the mods for a reason.
Yep. You gotta make peace with them.
You gotta make peace with them. But the mods are committed to having a free speech environment. Believe me. I think that one time I was out of pocket, I went crazy on somebody. All right, guys.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I've never seen you do that before.
Yeah, especially with politics. I'm usually a pretty gentle soul relative to politics. I'm usually right down the middle with everybody, but everybody has their,
Thanksgiving massacre.
It happens. I thought you were too busy raising your kids to stream on Middle America. The people need it. Okay, I was demanded by the people and they need it. All right, now let's go. Hunter Biden and the pardon. By the way, guys, let me know if you can hear the music in the background. Let's go. Song. We got, what do you call it?
What do you need?
Thumbnail and monetization.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Speaking of which, one of the legends himself
has just arrived.
Ranter Matt is, I believe Ranter Matt is the mod with a capital M, and I'm pretty sure he was the one that banned me out of my thingamajig. So come and welcome. All right, here we go. I should have a poll. I should have a poll going as to like who. Oh my God! Did you see that in the background? Go back.
What is it? This?
We might go back to the. We might keep. Yeah, we should keep that thumbnail.
Oh, okay.
Because he's in the back looking ominous as hell.
Yeah.
Just go down there and get the monetization on. We'd be good to go. I heard no news about Belgium, but I have heard news about Mr. Biden, and here we go. Let's go 6-minute timestamp for the Biden thing, and we're off. Here we go.
Good morning, everybody. Happy
music.
Monday. We have an amazing show for everybody today. What do we have, Crystal?
Yes, we do. Sagar,
Yes.
welcome back.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Had an amazing, yeah.
Sagar talking about Japan.
Conversational Japanese that I was able to pick up, but no, it was.
People that Trump is putting in positions of power, Kash Patel at the FBI in particular, has been quite noteworthy. So we'll
weird.
need to know about that. He has also
Such a weird
issued
selection.
new raft of tariff threats, this time against a so-called BRICS country. So that one is quite significant. We also have a bunch of foreign policy news for you. Zelensky seeming to float for the first time, potentially ceding territory in order to end that war.
What did I tell y'all?
Yep.
I told y'all.
Yep.
I said give it 30 days from
How
when
quickly?
Mr. Trump swears in, and watch how we don't get an end to the conflict over there in Russia.
We have Syrian rebels coming out of nowhere to take back Aleppo as, multiple powers are distracted, whether in Ukraine or with regard to Israel and Gaza. So we'll break that down for you. Incredibly significant development there. Mark Andreessen sparked quite a controversy about debanking when he went on Joe Rogan. Our own Matt Stoller is in the mix with that whole debate. So he's going to join us to break all of that down.
Debanking.
And I am taking a look at MSNBC's continuing war on Bernie Sanders and their pernicious influence in the Democratic Party in general.
That's always. That seems to be a never-ending.
If you guys saw the breakdown that I did of FD Signifier, you will see that one of the major points I made was that the Democratic Party would rather lose to Trump than win with Bernie. Obviously, the Obama era politics and the rest of it ain't working anymore. The Obama coalition is dead, etc., etc. The Democrats need to go in a new direction, and it's obvious in which direction they need to go, but they still do not want to cede any power to Bernard Sanders. I don't know what Bernie's trying to do, because he'll be like 90 or something like that, or 80 something if he survives until the next election. Okay. That is BS. Zelensky will cede territory in return for Ukraine joining NATO. Then he wants to get the territory back diplomatically. Yeah, but I think with a Trump-run NATO, I don't think that's going to happen in the next 4 years, and I don't believe that Zelensky has the cojones to go back on something like that. I just don't. I mean, I just saw a picture of him doing some sort of strip dance in tights and things of that nature.
Yeah, but was that recent, or was that like before when he used to do his performing?
I mean, I don't care either way. I mean, the fact that that's your national leader, that's the guy that's supposed to step to Putin and say, I want my land back. I don't think so. All right, guys, here we go.
Especially, remember that video where he went to talk to, I thought it was the Nazis in the woods.
Did. Yeah.
And they basically told him just to get out of there.
Yeah, the Azov dudes, they laughed at him.
Yep.
And they rolled up on him, clutching, getting the trigger finger ready. Yeah. All that good jazz. Shout out to Zelensky. God almighty.
discussion.
That's an evergreen conversation, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Thank you, by the way, to all of our premium subscribers. We have a fun ask of everybody today. So what is going to happen is that tomorrow, Crystal will be doing a sit-down with Pod Save America's Jon Favreau about the conversation about the future of the Democratic Party, especially in the aftermath of that incredible interview that they had. Even I had to take time of my vacation.
You watched it?
I mean, I was up in the middle of the night, and I was like, well, you know, you got to check in every once in a while. And I was stunned. It was an incredible, just, you got to put it in a history museum, honestly, for one of the worst campaigns in modern American history. But Crystal will be speaking with Jon Favreau about that. So for our premium subscribers, we are going to ask Jon some of the questions that you guys come up with. So on Locals, we're going to make a post, and you can ask some suggested questions. So that's to all of our premium subscribers. It will also drop early.
Okay, I don't care.
Continue to be very significant in that space. So I really want to understand what Favreau is taking away from some of these conversations that they're hosting on the platform. So definitely looking forward to that. And if you're not able to become a premium,
no idea what. All we can surmise from looking at it is that it's because so many of you guys shared the podcast literally just by texting it. So if you do that, thank you. Seriously, 5-star review, all of that. I mean, I know it sounds trite, but honestly, word of mouth is the greatest marketing you can ever get.
Oh, no doubt about it.
It's incredible to see.
That's why we tell you to like, share, comment, subscribe, dear listener.
Spreading the good word. Let's go ahead then and start though with what Crystal teased. Shocked the world last.
All right, 11 minutes. 11 minutes is the timestamp. Here we go, dear listener.
Night. Wasn't so shocking. President Biden issuing a pardon for his son Hunter. Let's go ahead and put this up there on the screen. Honestly, you should put this one in a museum. Statement from President Biden. Today, I signed a pardon for my son Hunter. From the day I took office, I said I would not interfere with the Justice Department's decision making. I kept my word, even as I watched my son being selectively and unfairly prosecuted without act.
I mean, the Hunter prosecution was get back for the Mar-a-Lago raid.
Yeah.
Right? We all know that.
Yeah,
we continue.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, this is ChatGPT, but they're saying that he pleaded guilty in 2024 to 3 felony tax charges and 6 misdemeanors. So he pleaded guilty.
Well, yeah. What I'm saying is, if they would have done that Mar-a-Lago thing with Trump, that wouldn't have happened. That wouldn't have happened. So it's hilarious because we all know why the DOJ was going after Trump, and it's because of what happened a couple weeks ago with the election. Because it was clear to them that there was no way Biden was going to win, and that they were going to be stuck with homegirl, and they knew there was no way they could win. So they did everything possible within legal means to make sure that this dude didn't have the chance to run. And then when they ran out of ideas, the Secret Service has a giant breakdown, and then Mr. Trump was shot at, but bless God, he survived. We continue.
Aggravating factors like use in a crime, multiple purchaser, buying a weapon as a straw purchaser. People are almost never brought to trial on felony charges solely for how they filled out a gun form. As he continues, the charges in his case came about only after several of my political opponents in Congress instigated them to attack me. Then a carefully negotiated plea deal agreed to by the Department of Justice unraveled in the courtroom, with a number of my opponents in Congress taking credit for bringing political pressure on the process. Let's go to the next slide, please, because this is the perfect one. No reasonable person who looks at the facts of Hunter's case can reach any conclusion other than Hunter was singled out only because he is my son, and that is wrong. There have been an effort to break Hunter, who has been 5.5 years sober, even in the face of unrelenting attacks and selective prosecution. In trying to break Hunter, they have tried to break me, and there is no reason to believe it will stop here. Enough is enough. For my entire career, I have followed a simple principle. Just tell the American people the truth. They will be fair-minded. Here's the truth. I believe in the justice system, but as I have wrestled with this, I also believe raw politics has infected this process, and it led to a miscarriage of justice. You could almost take that straight out of a Donald Trump press release, couldn't you? And it also flies a little bit in the face of some past comments from the White House. White House spokesperson Karine Jean-Pierre said on multiple occasions the president will never issue a pardon for Hunter Biden, and Biden himself saying on tape on multiple instances that he would not do so. Let's take a listen.
First briefing since Hunter was indicted again in Los Angeles. Why doesn't President Biden just pardon him?
President, I've been very clear. The president's not going to pardon his son.
As we sit here in Normandy, your son Hunter is on trial, and I know that you cannot speak about an ongoing federal prosecution. But let me ask you, will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
Okay, so here's the
Pardon got ruled back in, apparently.
Yeah, it's ruled back. Here's the thing about it. If he had just said, I'm doing this because I can, and if we're honest, any parent would do the same thing, I'd be like, yeah, all right. I mean, let's be real. Would I do it too? Absolutely. Most people would. But
would you do it?
For this stuff?
How much time is he looking at? How much time was he looking at? Ask ChatGPT. Waiting out coke, waving a gun in front of a hooker, just singling him out, smoke some weed and go to jail for up to 20 years. Yikes.
Tax offenses. These charges include 3 felonies and 6 misdemeanors, while the felony convictions carrying a maximum total sentence of 15 years. Each misdemeanor conviction added potential prison time, though such sentences are often shorter. The gun charges will add additional years. It seems like he lied on the. They're probably going to go into it. It seems like he made false statements on a federal background check when he was getting a gun, and that there was some felony tax charges. No, I would not put somebody in jail for these things. And if this was my
somebody,
kid,
your own flesh and blood.
I know. I'm saying people. I wouldn't put people in jail.
I would absolutely pardon my kids in all of these issues, other than probably first-degree murder. I mean, if my kid
rape, if they
right. If my kid did that or murdered somebody, I could not use the levers of power to get him out of there. If he was facing the death penalty, I'd pull some strings or whatnot, but that would be the only reason. And then it would have to be, like if it was first degree murder or SA, you gotta go. You gotta go. But this stuff, no way. And I agree with him. He's right. All of this was just political posturing because of what happened with Trump. I called it before we even read the letter. That was just what was going on. Mm-hmm. All the Republicans who are having a hissy about this, I don't think they care. I'm sure that Biden and Trump talked this through. There's probably going to be some quid pro quo where it's like, okay, you could do that with Hunter, and then I'm going to do that for all the J6 people, all the J6 hostages or whatever. Maybe they can make a movie out of them or something like that. Good night. I just think it's crazy to me that he even made such a definitive statement that he was never going to pardon Hunter. What kind of why would you do that?
Well,
I don't think that
You think even back then he knew he was going to pardon him?
Of course he did. Of course. I just think...
You don't think that he thought maybe the justice system would figure this out and he wouldn't end up going to jail? You think he knew where it was headed, but he just straight lied to the American people
Yeah, you know what? You're probably right. He probably thought that there's no way a jury is going to indict charge my son Hunter with these crimes. But they did charge him with it, and then he reneged on it, which, again, any parent in here, especially if we look at the charges, they're not really hurting anybody. It's pretty much fraud.
And he was saying what? He was trying to,
I mean, who of us hasn't lied on a gun application to get a gun? You know what I'm saying? Especially him. I
don't know what questions they asked. What would people lie about on that?
Well, half the country hated him, right? And Trump supporters, they got guns. You know what I'm saying? And so, I could see how he would want a gun. You know what I mean? It's in the hood. If you do some dirt, obviously the police don't want you to have a gun. But if you do some dirt, now you need the gun more than anybody else. So
yeah, and the fact that he was filling out one of those forms means he wasn't trying to get a gun through the black market, or I don't know if they call it the black market. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He could have gotten it by some shiesty means, but it looks like he was trying to still follow the law. But
preening. There's viral tweets going around, John Harwood being like, people cannot conceive of what it is like to have a president who is so morally righteous and puts the law above his own personal interests. And then to reverse, and it just turns out you're like everybody else when you use power to further your own personal ends. Again, fine. The idea of presidential pardon is already an insane thing. Why it's exactly in the Constitution basically has to do with monarchical traditions of the early 1700s.
Yeah.
It's an insane tradition in the late in 2024,
and abused by basically every president.
Abused by every president, literally ever. I
like it. I'm okay with that. America is a prison state at some level. And we have an overreactive judicial system, partly because, uniquely to American capitalism, we have a prison industrial complex where we generate bunches of revenue with the prison industrial complex. Or on the other hand, we save revenue by the 13th Amendment, where we're paying these guys pennies on the dollars to fight fires and all the rest of it. Shout out to Kamala Harris. It is ironic, though, that the dude that was majorly like the figurehead of the crime bill, that have put many black people in jail for crimes much less than what Mr. Hunter Biden has committed.
Yeah.
All of a sudden now, well, it was unjust the way that he was prosecuted. I'm sure a lot of black mothers have a couple words about that too. We continue.
Clinton pardoning Roger, Carter and his brother. I could go on forever. Okay, look at the number of insane pardons that Trump put through, and just in the modern era, even George W. Bush, Obama. I mean, go on. The point is that every president has abused it. Every president enjoys doling out political favors and all of that. So fine, whatever. Biden, you're just like everybody else. But he literally said that his role raison d'etre was that he is not Donald Trump, is that he respects the rule of law, is that he will respect the...
Ridiculous! He also said he was going to be a transitional president, thereby getting everybody on the same page to believe that he was just there as defense for Trump, and then he was going to hand the thing off to the younger generation, Pete Buttigieg, all the rest of it. So I'm almost confused. Like, why is this even news that he lied? Like, surprise, surprise. Wow. Holy smokes. We continue.
Jury's decision. So the little juxtaposition there, especially in light of what is very obviously to come with Donald Trump, just makes it seem a little bit. It's just. I'll just put it this way. Now the Democrats are in a tough bind because they made this whole rule of law. Trump it's ridiculous, miscarriage of justice, etc. So when Trump comes in, he's going to pardon all of these January 6 people and all these other folks politically who are.
What did I say? Them J6 people going to be out, boy. Trump pardoned nearly 30,000 people for non-violent drug crimes. Yeah, it's true. I was looking at a black lady. She was talking about how Trump let her out. One of the dudes that was shooting at Chief Keef in New York City, which was a violent offense, he got let out specifically by Trump because he didn't have any priors. He tried to. He shot him twice.
Is he going to go back out and do that, or do you think that?
I don't think he's going to go back out and do that. And plus, he didn't have enough money to beef with Chief Keef, man. Like, I would have done that Vlad interview if I was that kid. But, Chief Keef really isn't like that, though. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, shout out to Trump for that. We continue.
Beneficial to him or who he's decided, what are they going to say? It's like you're full of shit, and you always were. So that's fine. I actually appreciate the nakedness of all of it, but I'm sure this is a moral crisis for the New York Times reader and for a few others. They're like, wait, that's not who you told me it was.
And see, that's the part.
That's one of the things that gets me about our country, is that I'm really starting to believe that people really believed all this stuff. I'm really starting to believe that they believed that they were on the side of like good, honest people, like that Joe Biden was a good, honest person, that he was some sort of that he was morally superior to Trump. People truly, especially Democrats or people, on the center left, they really believed that he was some good like person. It was so odd. How does anybody ascend to power, especially a guy like that who's pretty much lived his entire life as a quote public servant? I mean, we've seen the multitudes of times that this dude lied. He said that he got locked up with Nelson Mandela. Allahu Akbar. I mean, come on, guys. Like, if you're gonna lie about something like that, I mean, he said that he graduated at the top of his class. He was like literally in the bottom quartile. He was like the 5th worst student of all time at that particular school. Like, I just don't understand that there are people in this country who really look at politicians and think that way about them.
Yeah, the other thing too is that from the left, there's like this clutch your pearls because Trump said grab them by the, and I don't agree with all of that side either. But there was like this outcry, like, how could you vote for somebody that said this when Tara Reid is in Biden's background? So how could you think that Biden was a perfectly, savior figure when what he did was far more atrocious than what was, what
Right, and on top of that, that particular situation ended the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
Tara Reid, well, not Tara Reid, but the left-wing response and the Democratic response and the neoliberal response to Tara Reid was to kill the Me Too movement. Mm-hmm. So, congratulations, we continue.
That it's very hard for me sometimes to wrap my head around DC morals because I do see a lot of liberals who are shocked and appalled by this Biden decision. And I mean, I don't think he should have lied to the American people about this. Like, I'm not saying that's a good thing that he did that, but I've watched this man facilitate a genocide for a year, like pardoning his son for some low-level, probably bullshit charges that I think he's probably right. If his name wasn't Hunter Biden, wouldn't have been pursued. To me.
And that's the same reason when, all the Democrats I'm listening to, when they intro Trump beating Kamala, they're like, they went for the 45-time convicted, blah, 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 and nobody cares. It's like, yeah, nobody cares because we all knew it was behind it.
Yeah.
We all knew it was behind it.
Yeah.
And it's the same reason I don't care about what happened with Hunter, because I know what's behind it. I know that you guys knew that Hunter was was who he was from the beginning, and if they would have left Trump alone in Mar-a-Lago, then this wouldn't have happened to Hunter. But I mean, Trump, he plays dirty, got Steve Bannon, all them folks. He's like, for real, y'all gonna come after me? Okay, let's see. So now, the chess move has worked to the point where now all the J6 people are on tap to get released. Mm-hmm. So there you go.
Mm-hmm. It does not rise nearly to the level of outrage of many other things that this man has done. So that's part of what often confuses me about some of the DC-brained morality. Mm-hmm. And then, the other piece of this is I do think it's kind of an acknowledgement, in a sense, of the era that we now live in, because Democrats did just run a whole election that, especially towards the end of the Kamala campaign, was all about the norms.
Yeah, literally.
It was all about democracy.
That was their whole case.
And voters were like, yeah, we don't really care. Like, Trump is himself a convicted criminal. He's going to get out of a bunch of his other charges because, now he's ascended to the presidency. He used the pardon powers in utterly grotesque ways, including pardoning Charles Kushner, who was convicted not only of tax fraud, but also, and this man is now about to be ambassador to France as well, by the way, was also convicted of setting up his own brother-in-law who was participating in the tax evasion, like with the federal government was cooperating with them. So set him up with the prostitute, recorded it, sent the resulting footage to his own sister in order to intimidate these people. That guy got a pardon from Trump, and the American people were like, yeah, we're cool with that.
Exactly. Though.
So I can't really be mad at Biden for being like, okay, that's the country we live in, apparently. I'm certainly not going to send my son to the slaughter in defense of some norms that have just been thoroughly rejected by the American public.
And the other thing is, it is the norm, as they've said, for the president to pardon people. Mm-hmm. That is a norm. Mm-hmm. It's obvious to me and anybody else that the American people did not buy this norm stuff. As a matter of fact, I think I've been really confused with the strategy of the Democratic Party when they were saying, he's a felon, she's a prosecutor. As if Americans are always going to root for the criminal over the law. Who wants to be on the side of the cops? Forget hood mentality. Who liked the hall monitor at school? Mm-hmm. Who was the cool kid at school in your school? Was it the guy that followed the rules and then told on everybody, or was it the person that was smoking in the staircase? Mm-hmm. Right? So I never really understood that angle. Who do these people think we are?
Secondly, if it's historically been a thing for the presidents to use their power to let off somebody that they personally love, then that makes sense, on a human level, right?
Right.
But what Trump is doing, where he, you just heard from that one lady, where he let off how many people?
30,000 people.
30,000 people.
I haven't confirmed it.
Verified that number. But, okay, so he let off a bunch of people. So he used his power to get regular people off. where we're not going to have somebody that's going to reach the position of president. Well, who knows? But at least not at this point.
I may very well have somebody in my family.
That's why I was like, well, maybe not. Maybe, but as of now, that's not the case. And so, you see what I'm saying? Like, that's also something that the rest of us can look at and be like, hey, like, he wasn't just looking out for his own. It wasn't that he had just had skin in the game. It was that, he sees something and he's doing something about it on the side of justice,
Yeah, name 5 people George Bush pardoned. Name 6 people that Bill Clinton pardoned. None of us know. None of us care. It doesn't matter. Okay? It does not matter. I don't care.
How I feel.
And the other thing is, if you're black, you've already seen a crazy justice system anyway. You've already seen people get away with literal murder. Mm-hmm. This is nothing. Mm-hmm. Guy caught a gun charge. Like, good for him. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's a fair point. But my point is more about Biden. It's just like, dude, like that literally was your whole cause. I was elected to stop Trump. I am
but he failed.
Physical embodiment of being anti-Trump. And so
and that
at the
whole
end,
project completely and totally failed.
I agree with you.
What kills me is that there are actually Americans, and I see this in the conversation on Middle America, like throughout the entire Biden administration. You have people that truly believed all this stuff. I just assumed that all of us were like, man, all the politicians are liars. But like when they were like people, I'd get in conversation with people and they were like, Trump lied about this and that. I'm like, you don't believe that? You think Biden's telling the truth? Mm-hmm. Like these people really believed it. Okay, all right. Mm-hmm. Obama pre-pardoned a bunch of corrupt bankers. Allahu Akbar. That wouldn't surprise me. That wouldn't surprise me.
And again, if he had been honest about it, I would think it would have been fine. But it's just hilarious to watch in just a 1 month span. Literally 1 month ago, we were having the norms election and the no one is above the law and even to besmirch the Department of Justice. My God, to imply the a politically motivated prosecution, that is a Donald Trump talking point. And now all of a sudden they're like, yeah, no reasonable person can look at this. So it's just like, okay.
Yeah, and it's the same thing that happened with the election deniers. Like they were getting completely like skewered for the last 4 years, marginalized, conspiracy theorists, tinfoil hat people, and then as soon as the Democrats lost, all of them turned into that for like 5 seconds, and there's still like a big giant contingency. It's probably going to stay that way until the actual swearing in. I'm still seeing YouTube videos of people saying, oh, just watch. The reason Kamala's been like incognito is because they're just getting the case ready.
No.
And it sounded exactly the same. I had this, this person that was a QAnon person, and she was convinced that Pelosi was going to walk out of there in handcuffs, and like they couldn't handle it. And now it turns out they can't handle it either. It's so crazy to me. Like these people, it's insane.
And, in a sense, it does just return things to normal, where most Americans are very clear-eyed, as I think they were with a lot of the norms. They're like, this is bullshit. It doesn't have any impact on my life. You guys are not talking about the things that I actually care about. And so the presidents are just going to be like, okay, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do, and I could probably get away with it, which obviously, especially Biden, who's basically on his way out forever, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
Yeah, he doesn't care, but it's just...
not going to be here to view the wreckage that he is himself. I think for me, with
Biden, it just highlights the clear image of who he always was to people like us, but to Washington could never accept. His decision to not step down from the presidency much earlier and allow a primary is one of the most selfish decisions from a party level in modern American history.
Yeah.
He is a villain. If we look at his foreign policy, if we look at his sole purpose was to defeat Donald Trump, it didn't work. He decided to appoint Kamala Harris. He didn't back a primary, and even though he personally knew and probably thought she would never win, he did it anyways. Every single decision.
He endorsed Kamala about like a half an hour after he made the Twitter announcement, and it's almost across the board on the Democratic side that was a middle finger to them for what they did to him. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And like this is one of those things, like these are one of the debates in intelligence about how to handle an agent or somebody that you're recruiting. Is that there's that if you give them those things, how do you know they're going to come through for you? Mm-hmm. You've literally got millions and millions of an infinite amount of money to give to people, but once they inherit all of that power, how do you know that they're not? And it goes bad. It goes. I mean, Al Qaeda would be one, right? Like, oh, here are these tactics, here are these, here are these weapons, and all this, and it goes bad sometimes with certain people. And if you look at Biden, it's like, this man has wanted to be the president since forever. And he's ran like 3 or 4 times. He lied, he cheated, he stole, he finally got it. Maybe it was a little bit silly to assume that he would be satisfied with just one run. He'd have really liked to have won the presidency, have the economy bounce back, and Spike the Football is like the GOAT as far as like body of work goes. But it's amazing to me. It's the same thing that happened with Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
That's literally what I was thinking. I was like, it seems to be a pattern.
Yeah, Mike. This has got to be Russian propaganda, dear listener. I can't tell you how many times your brother was accused of being a Russian propagandist by some people in this very room.
Oh no!
We continue.
It's you.
He's ever made has been selfish. That is his entire record. So if you were watching this show, no, this wouldn't surprise you. But I think, again, for the New York Times liberals, for the congressmen, for the people, some of these people, they believed it, right? And they voted for him per se for exactly why, especially back in 2020. And it's like, oh, dude, you're just like everybody else. So anyway, welcome to Washington.
Yeah.
Exactly the same as it always was.
I remember all the, glowing statements about what a hero he was.
When we were at the
he
DNC,
stepped
it was
aside,
nauseating. It's like
etc.
he's like the greatest American who's ever lived. It's Abraham Lincoln, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, that's really how they portrayed him. And it
Man, I was hearing FDR. I heard all types of weirdo stuff about him. Like, what are we talking about here? We talking about the same guy? I mean, like I said, he's still a ruler of our people. I must still respect him, but FDR?
Oh.
I mean, my lord, you're gonna put him on the on Mount Rushmore? Biden? Somebody was saying that. They was like, no, I mean, there's a real case. And the guy was like, all right, sit down. I was like, I got to do a middle ground. I was like, nah, I can't.
It was so dissonant to look at the actions that he's, actually taken. And I think, to me, Gaza is like the most clear-cut horror that he has been not only complicit in, but I think at this point we have to say, he's let it all hang out more than ever that no, this is actually the policy that I really wanted to pursue. And all of the feints in the other direction of, I really want a ceasefire, that was actually the political manipulation. But in any case, so I
think Crystal is giving this guy too much credit, man. I don't think that kind of calculus and math is being done by Biden. I don't believe that Biden is currently running the country, and I don't truly believe he was ever truly running the country. I have no way to prove this, but I put this all on Obama, and that's pretty much it. It's Obama.
I think we've been very clear-eyed in the show about who he really is, and I do think that after the Kamala Harris campaign failure, I think among a lot of liberals, there has already been a reassessment of the character of this man, because you can't help but place a lot of blame at his feet. He indicated that he would be a one-term president.
Yes.
He never came out and outright said it, I'll give him that, but he really led people to believe that he would be handing the torch to the next generation. And then once he got in there, out of selfishness and narcissism and arrogance and a lot of people, yes men around him, etc., he decides, no, I want to hang on to power, blocks the Democratic primary, stays in as long as he possibly can, and does end up hobbling Democrats and then, to add insult to injury, locked them into Kamala Harris as the choice. His endorsement of Kamala Harris really sort of forced her on the party mid, so there was no other option, and we all knew kind of the weaknesses of her as a candidate going in.
And that's why I said, yes, he's going through cognitive decline, but do not sleep on this man. Don't sleep on him. And you saw what he did with Kamala. He sent her Kamala. He sent her right down to the border, called her the border czar, so that she could eat all them rounds, because there was going to be no solution to the border, and definitely no solution that was anything remotely close to what they were talking about how Trump was xenophobic and all the rest of it, and she was like, what happened to bring me your tired, bring me your poor, all this wonderful stuff. And the first thing that this man made her do is go to South America, where she said, don't come. What I have to say to you is, don't come. Yeah, this dude he knows how to operate. He knows how to pull certain levers.
Yep.
He knows how the media works. He's a sly fox, man. He's not who he used to be. But He's a sly fox. Do not come. We continue.
So, he is right up there towards the top of the list if you want to look at, who is most responsible for failing to end the Trump era. So, I thought Dave Weigel made an interesting point over on Twitter. He said, yep, Biden wanting to uphold the norms, agreed to keep on a Trump-appointed prosecutor who was probing his son, create a special counsel to probe his own post-VP document retention, kept on Durham so he could finish a Trump-ordered probe of 2016. What did he get? Nothing. So here he goes. And I do think that sort of gets to my sense that this is the era that we're in now. And it's like, okay, Democrats apparently embracing that as well.
Yeah.
So there you go.
All right. Well, I guess it was all a lie this entire time. Cool. Really enjoy. I mean, look, it's always been that way. In a sense, again, it's actually very gratifying to be like, finally, people can just see it. The people who've been shoving this down. Oh, he's such a hero. He's above the law. He's the most moral man who's ever lived. He's Abraham Lincoln reincarnate. Such an amazing person. It's like, no, he's just like everybody else. He's a politically egomaniacal narcissist who cares more about himself and his own family than he does about the United States. And in a certain sense, that's always been the case with most of these presidents.
I don't understand how pardoning his son means he cares about his family more than the United States. It'd be one thing if your son was like Al-Qaeda, or your son got definitively and absolutely charged with treason.
Unless
what I'm saying?
Maybe he means like the disillusion, like because people were like, oh, he's this person, he's and then you just like completely ruined that for the American people. I don't know if that's what he means.
Well, these people are in Washington, so they might be hanging around people that really truly believe that this was a good man. I mean...
oh, wow, that's crazy. That's true.
It's only people that watch mainstream media that have these hyper-simplistic understandings of Trump and Biden. Trump is like Shaitan, and then Biden is like the prophet. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's almost crazy. Holy moly. Again, Hunter is almost 60. It's a good point. That boy's a senior citizen, man. He ain't doing nothing. Mechanist, bitch!
Continue to be the case, and that's just how it is. So, in a way, thank you, Joe Biden, for just showing us the truth, and for that so much of this was BS the entire time. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below.
I liked that video. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Was it really that bad? Mex says, pardoning his son is absolutely hilarious to me. He was just saying he wasn't going to do it, but whatever. Hunter is somebody's granddaddy. Yeah, there you go. Like, so he's grandpa to somebody. God bless Hunter Biden. I genuinely, seriously hope he can overcome all of his demons. I mean, for me, Joe already lost a son, you know what I'm saying, to cancer. He had to bury his own child. He doesn't have long left on the earth. I mean, the guy's in his 80s, and he's not a healthy 80.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, you can't really be that. At the human level, I understand it.
Yeah, so do I. Especially
and honestly, at the human level, if he didn't do it, if I was President Trump, I would let him off. I'd let him off immediately. I'm like, all right, man, go ahead. Spend the rest of the time with your dad.
And I heard he's
do him solid.
Like, did I hear that right? He's like been trying to get clean for like 5 years. So
yeah, I mean,
like 5 years sober, and
yeah, I mean,
these things happen before that. Like people, when they lose somebody, like people make decisions, and some of those decisions are terrible decisions, as a way to cope with the situation. So yeah, I mean, I didn't have an issue with it personally.
Yeah, I mean, he lied, but I mean, none of us believed that he was going to sit there and let these people do that to his son. There's no way he was going to send his child to federal prison. I don't care how old he is or how old he isn't. There's just no way. That's not going to happen. Not going to happen. Okay, guys, we could do a brief Ask Me Anything. I'm actually going to go and do another video. This is actually about the tariffs, the Trump tariffs that everybody's talking about. I think it's a very interesting... I found a video that kind of has all the angles at it, so it's really cool, and it's cool because it's a very interesting look into Canadian politics. That is really, really interesting. Really interesting relative to that. Okay. Because I was just looking into it a couple days ago. I was like, okay, let me find out these Canadians. Let me find out these Canadians up in here. So we're gonna do that. Until that video gets downloaded, we could do a quick Ask Me Anything. Or you guys could just sound off on what you think's going on relative to the Hunter Biden situation. He lost his wife and daughter in a car crash too. I fully understand not wanting to lose another. Holy hell, he lost a daughter as well?
Who?
Yeah, Biden. Yeah,
Which Biden? Joe?
Joe. So he lost 2 kids.
And a wife?
I mean,
so this is his second wife?
Yeah. I mean, that's brutal, man. I think it's weird that he said he wasn't going to pardon him. If you're going to do it, then you might as well just say that if you're asked not to lie. But that, like, he was likely trying to do that to save Kamala. Yeah, I mean, I guess. I don't know how much Biden would ever do anything to save Kamala. I don't think Biden had any loyalty whatsoever to Kamala at all. I don't think he ever liked her. I don't think he ever respected her. And I think he stood behind Kamala, as everybody says, to stick it to the Democrats. Because, again, he still had enough political acumen to understand that there was no way in the world that this woman was going to win. You know what I'm saying? So, it's brutal. It's a brutal situation all around, man.
And who knows? Maybe he actually thought the justice system wouldn't end up, putting him in jail. Maybe he thought it was going to end up being a fine or something like that. But then maybe after they saw, like, how much they were going to go after Trump and everything that they were doing to get him, maybe he was like, this might not turn out in my favor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, maybe when he originally said it, he thought, yeah, I can trust the justice system. Like, this is going to be okay. And maybe he knew somebody that was going to be part of the process, so he was okay with it at the time. But he definitely changed his mind on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy to me. Like our politics is just so crazy. Do me a favor and update the thumbnail. Shout out to okay. All right, guys. We are gonna go back to.
Did you send it to me?
Say again.
Did you send me the thumbnail that you want me to?
Yeah, I just messaged it to you.
I think you sent it to our children.
I did. Yep, I sent it to Johan. Yep. Go ahead, talk to the people.
He got a good laugh out of it anyway.
Yeah, he got a good laugh out of it.
Yeah, ask me anything, you guys. Let me see. Let me pull up that chat.
We're going to go right into
biolabs in Ukraine. Have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, we covered biolabs in Ukraine like years ago. People were saying that I was a Russian bot for saying that, though. They said I was bought off by the Russians for talking about the biolabs in Ukraine. That's also something that Hunter was deeply involved in, which is very strange to me. Very strange to me.
Yeah, that was. I forgot about that.
Like, why is this dude... I am worried about the slush fund, the Chinese slush fund. I am worried about that. But, yeah. The next video we're going to watch, guys, is about... the title I got from this dude. Justin Trudeau humiliated as Canada goes to Mar-a-Lago to bend the knee to Trump. Holy moly, that is a long title. Do me a favor. What happened?
I just did a screenshot of it.
Thumbnail didn't work. All right, guys, we're gonna go back. We're gonna pause for like 2 minutes, and then we're gonna come right back. We're gonna be dealing with Trump and the tariff situation and what all is going around with that. Like I said, be there, be square. Don't go anywhere. We're gonna shoot another video real quick about Trump and the tariffs. You will be blown away, I promise. Trump's tariffs are going to destroy the country.
Which one?
Let's talk about it, y'all.
Middle America.
And you ain't black.
The first time ever any.
What are you people? We're Americans. We are Americans indeed. My name is Vincent, and
I am Soraya.
And this is Middle America with Vin and
Sorry.
where we are not left wing.
We're not right wing.
We're just
right.
All right, dear listener. I'm sure many of you have heard that there is a situation going on with tariffs. And a lot of people are extremely nervous about these tariffs. I have been wanting to talk about them, but in a way that's concise and clear, because most people's eyes roll over. And I think I have found a pretty good summation of it. This
fill us in.
This guy is called the Black Conservative Perspective. I think that's the name of his channel.
Okay.
And he's done a show relative to that, where he just basically just used a lot of the clips from Canadian news. I had a very interesting time last night perusing Canadian news. It's very, very fascinating. So we will be talking about that. So here we go. Justin Trudeau. From the Black Conservative Perspective, the title of the video is Justin Trudeau Humiliated!
Oh no!
As Canada goes to Mar-a-Lago to bend the knee to Trump. Yes, there is a tariff coming to China, Mexico, and Canada. Alright guys, here we go.
I had a good call with Donald Trump last night again. We obviously talked about laying out the facts, talking about how the intense and effective connections between our two countries flow back and forth. We talked about some of the challenges that we can work on together. It was a good call.
A few moments later.
Justin Trudeau made his way down to meet with President-elect Donald Trump. He also was at a dinner table, you can see there, with Howard Lutnick, the incoming Secretary of Commerce, and his wife. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, incoming lead of the Interior Department, and his wife, and Mike Waltz, Trump's choice to be National Security Advisor, along with his wife. You can also see there the Senator-elect from Pennsylvania, Dave McCormick. Trudeau brought some of his cabinet as well to have this dinner, where they wanted to discuss the proposed tariffs Donald Trump has talked about with Canada and Mexico.
25% on Canadian and Mexican goods, 10% on all Chinese goods, 41% of total trade to the U.S. is from Mexico, China, and Canada. We're looking at a total of $3.1 trillion of goods.
That are imported total.
That are imported totally. You know, this is a big deal because we don't export as much to them as they send
China
to us.
Specifically.
Yeah. And so this is a big deal. I mean, you know, Justin Trudeau and Donald Trump ideologically opposed, and yet you see Justin Trudeau. I'm going to read you this quote. You're going to see how conciliatory he is. He's not messing around. He understands he can't play games here. This will deeply affect Canada. And so this is a quote from him earlier on Friday. He says, ultimately, it's through lots of real constructive conversations with President Trump that I'm going to have that will keep us moving forward on the right track for all Canadians. It's important to understand that Donald Trump, when he makes statements like that, he plans on carrying them out. There is no question about it.
All right, guys.
People have different understandings. Sorry, guys. I know I was mute for a second. But did you hear what the man said? They said, if Mr. Trump says something, he most likely means it. He is not playing around. Now, listen, man. Listen. I am not saying, I keep trying to explain this about violence. When I said I blamed Mr. Biden for the invasion of Ukraine, people said, how could you blame Biden for the invasion of Ukraine? And I said, it's because he's perceived as a weak person who's not going to do anything. Then you had the Iranians mocking us by mocking Biden. And like I said, whether you're a Republican or Democrat, Biden is the leader of America, and no American should ever countenance the Iranians of all people mocking us like they did under the Biden administration. I promise you that's going to change. Now, again, that doesn't justify a Trump administration. All I'm telling you is the difference is between the two.
Yeah.
Okay? All right, now here we go. Like I said, guys, this is going to be a lot of news clips smashed together, and I think by the end of this, you're really going to get an understanding about the tariffs and why and the method behind Trump's madness. Okay, we continue.
To talk about President-elect Trump already making world leaders bend the knee, letting them know that America is back. Okay, and we're playing hardball. We're not letting you guys take advantage of us anymore. Okay, that is something that Trump is already making clear to 3 countries in particular. China.
I mean, I always had an issue with Obama's apology tour and him bowing to other, leaders amongst themselves. No, I wasn't good with that. So I like this version of America.
First and foremost, Canada and Mexico, okay? And he's doing that with threats of tariffs, which is something that the mainstream liberal media is boohoo, whining, and crying about. They're mad, they're upset, they're telling everybody that the price...
Well, it's not just the mainstream liberal media. I mean, there are people in Trump's own cabinet that are worried about this tariff situation. So it's not accurate to say, but look, it's called the black conservative perspective, okay? So he's not pretending to be anything other than that. I'm just saying, for our purposes, it is not just liberals who are worried about this.
Everything is gonna go up. Right? This is what they're saying, okay? However, they don't understand. Maybe they're just being willfully ignorant, okay? They don't understand. Trump is a smart man, right? And everybody in business understands negotiations, okay? Everybody knows that in the ideal world, no, we don't want to tariff the hell out of Canada and Mexico. I don't know, maybe China, right? Maybe we actually do with China, considering how I really believe that we should form stronger partnerships with some of our allies in that area in order to wean off of China, because at this point, our dependence on China is becoming a national security threat. And
I just don't think that that's realistic. It's not like you could find another billion-plus nation that has all that infrastructure in place for that kind of trade. It's like the left wingers saying we got to find another Joe Rogan. We just got to find Joe Rogan. Like where? Where?
Clearly, China is not very friendly towards the United States of America. So I don't know. Yeah, we definitely should do something about China. But again, there's some people who get it and some people that don't, okay? The career politicians, the bureaucrats, the so-called journalists, the economists, they don't understand it, right? They are trying to pretend as if Trump actually really wants to put a tariff across the board on all these countries instead of what he's obviously trying to do, which is to bring countries to the negotiating table.
And it's not even clear what he's asking these countries to do. I mean, he says it's about fentanyl, but no fentanyl comes over the border from Canada, you know? And even the fentanyl that does come over the border from Mexico is mostly brought over by American citizens. So it's not really clear what these countries could do to appease Trump. I really hope he is just saber rattling, because I agree, at least.
No, I'm pretty sure that he's that we've put out definitive markers and goals that need to be hit, particularly with China. I mean, look, the Canadians, their border is porous as hell, and a lot of it had to do with Trudeau and the rest of them trying to make themselves the anti-Trump. Everybody's trying to do the opposite of what Trump's doing. So Trump is like, hey, we need to secure our border. So the Canadians are like, we're going to let everybody in, blah, blah, blah. Well, look, if you let everybody in, guess which country borders your country at the south? Right. Us. Right? And then in the Mexico to the north, it's us. So, yeah, if you're a bad guy, or if you're China and you want to get fentanyl and opioids into America, Sure, you're going to invest in Mexico and go up north, but you're also going to go to Canada and go down south. That's one of the clear directives that has been given. We have talked about this ad nauseum, ad infinitum. We continue.
I think we agree that a 25% tariff on all Canadian goods and all Mexican goods would be devastating, as would the likely retaliation, which would probably be much more surgically
it would be devastating.
targeted.
Why?
Because now what's going to happen is that since we're charging them this extra money, now on their goods, they're going to charge the customer extra money to recoup the tax, right? It's like when we were selling Fuji and we had to pay $2 to Canada, then Fuji's going to be $2 extra in Canada so that we can recoup that. So what she's saying is, look, if you do this, they're just going to take that 25% and mark it up, and it's going to be more expensive for Americans to buy shit. See what I'm saying? But their economy is dependent on us, not vice versa. See what I'm saying? And so
that's what I was thinking.
So you should expect, if they go through with this, which I doubt it will, because you'll see as we go on, I'm assuming, but here we go. We continue.
Yeah, but if they charge more for their product, you're saying, let's say they were going to bring in $100 billion worth of products, but now they're getting charged 25% more than that.
Yep.
That they're going to pay to the, like a tax, just like what we have to pay.
Yep.
And so you're saying that they're going to sell it to us for more, but the more they sell it to us, the higher the percentage goes too.
No. You pay your 25% tariff, right? So it's $1. Now it's $1.25, right? So instead of selling the cookie for $1.50, you're not going to sell it for $1.75. So you're not going to get tariffed on that extra. You already paid for the tariff. Now you're making the customer pay for the tariff themselves, right?
Okay.
So that's the concern.
To American businesses that would suffer, that are politically important.
Yeah, a couple of things.
Most of us who do business there realize it's time to really set the record straight here, because they cheat, they steal, they don't protect IP, we can't use their courts. And
IP is intellectual property.
Who's he talking about?
Specifically talking about China. They're notorious for hacking and stealing IP, and there's really nothing we can do about it because we don't have the political will to go after them. So those are the things that happen when you're fighting a two-front war, is you have other things that are really, really important that fall by the wayside. So that prior to the COVID outbreak, I don't know if you guys knew what the main story was prior to the outbreak of COVID, but the main story was prior to the outbreak of COVID is that Trump won the negotiation war between him and Xi Jinping. And a week after that, we had COVID.
I mean, I was thinking about that the entire time. We've been
do what you will with that, dear listener. Do what you will with that.
I just didn't know how much stuff we should bring up. But yeah, I thought that was awfully weird.
Do what you will with that. I don't think the same thing will happen. Trump has surrounded himself with a different kind of group of people. So I think Mr. Ping, you better fall in line. We continue.
Xi is getting away with it because he thinks no one will stand up to it. My strategy here, and what I would advocate for, is to raise the walls so high that it forces him to the table here in Washington for a reciprocal deal, which we desperately need. And it's not 25%, it's 400%. You basically threaten to bankrupt his economy. And the only reason Xi gets to be the supreme leader is people are employed. If you threaten the core of his economy by shutting down access to the world's largest economy,
people rise up.
They rise up, they throw him out. And when he senses that coming, he'll fly to Washington to cut a deal.
See, it's very, very, very even balance that dictators need to strike, where you put enough fear into the populace, but you cannot do it to the entire populace, because then they'll come after you. So if you make people just comfortable enough and then intimidate them just enough, you can maintain power for a very, very long time. But if you put people in a massively austere situation and it's your fault, and there's 1 billion people in the country and they've got intelligence departments and militaries and things of that nature, he understands that if the unwashed masses rise up, he doesn't stand a chance, especially in a country that huge. Big Homie Dan says the real problem is that we've allowed China to undercut us at every turn when it comes to manufacturing good. Almost all our manufacturing businesses have gone under due to being cut out of the market. Correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's going to take very tough negotiations, but I'm happy to see this is going on.
Hey, shout out to the Australians. It says, first time catching your live stream in Australia. All we hear is Trump's protectionist policies will hurt the Australian economy. I tell my friends, very non-perceptive, he shouldn't care. I agree. He should not care about anybody except for America initially. He should not care because he's the president of the USA and should put them first. Correct. And it's on our leaders to look out for us and should bring back manufacturing. Correct. Trump, though, is pretty good about rewarding loyalty, I think. So I think that if Xi tries to play hardball, we're definitely going to feel it. But at least there will be some logic behind it and a roadmap. When we were dealing with inflation with Mr. Biden, there was no logic, there was no roadmap, there was no end in sight, and there was nothing where we were going to recoup something glorious for our country on the back end.
I mean, I heard back, probably, 20 years ago, they would say, like, we're buying way too much, we're getting too much stuff from China, it's shutting down jobs here. Like, we would have more factories. I mean, we used to have a bunch of factories, and that was what, people, the majority of the people were working in factories. But those jobs are no longer here because we buy the stuff from overseas. And not only that, do you remember the lead paint that was on the toys?
Yeah.
That was back then too, and that was like, if it's here in America, we can dictate what we're going to put in our stuff, because obviously you would think that American-based companies would care about the well-being of Americans. What you described about the Biden thing and then all of a sudden COVID popping off, you know what I'm saying? Like, do we really trust, if we believe that that's a possibility, do we really trust this country to be sending us over things for our families? And I don't know.
Yeah, that's
like,
what
we need to think about it, because there might be something we don't know about, but they manufactured in one of their labs, and it's now in the stuff that you overcharged or you put a tax on, and they're pissed off. So I don't know. Like, I don't know the wisdom of it's if they're proving themselves to be like a dishonest partner, then why would we continue in business with them? Like, I don't know if we said, look, if you're caught hacking into any of our stuff, we're gonna cease anything. We're not taking anything from you guys for X amount of time. So then they police their own people, because I'm sure they have systems in place where they can see where. You see what I'm saying?
I mean, they employ those people specifically for that
Okay, that's
purpose.
what I'm saying. Like,
and I'm not mad at the Chinese for that. Like, the job of Xi is to do what's in the best interest of China, and so I'm not mad at him for that. I'm mad at, our leaders, unfortunately, our leader, Mr. Biden, just sitting and allowing that to happen. And, it's not a conversation that people have, but it's a real, it really is a determiner of the economy. Mech is saying, I went to high school in Gastonia, North Carolina. It used to be a mill town, but by the time I was there, the only employer was Walmart.
Yep.
Main streets empty after the textile mill was shipped over to Mexico, correct?
Yeah, the same thing happened in Maine. There was multiple, factories. There was shoe factories. There was multiple mills.
Shout out to the
all
Clintons.
those things got shut down. I mean, a lot of those people ended up with cancer, honestly, because of all of the chemicals and stuff that was going on over there. So obviously, if we're gonna do it, we should follow some safety regulations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We continue.
Mexico and Canada, different deal. We have a new trade agreement. The challenge for Mexico has a brand new leader, so you see she's feisty, she's making her moves, that makes sense. Canada's a different situation. Trudeau's on his way out. He's at the end of a long mandate. In the parliamentary system, when you can't win a majority mandate, they throw you out. That's happening to him now. The new prime minister, most likely, is Pierre Poilievre.
We love him.
Well, he's going to be negotiating this deal, so I would advise...
That guy, Pierre, he's a right-winger. So Justin Trudeau is basically a neoliberal for Canada, okay? And he's on his way out.
Okay.
And the new guy that's on his way in is Pierre. I forgot dude's last name, but he's on the right in Canada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the other thing, is that when you look back at the election, and this is how America kind of influences the world. When you look back at the election, you not only had Trump win the electoral vote, but he also won the popular vote. He won the House and the Senate. So if you are in Canada, that's signaling to you, okay, North America is on a rightward shift. And then what do you have? You want good relations with America, because no matter what anybody says, we are still the greatest power in the world, economically and militarily.
Oh, so you're saying they might shift their power to align more with us.
Right. So they're going to say, well, and the other thing, too, is that we're the most important country in the world. So if we're shifting right, it's kind of like, what do the Americans know that we don't know? Right? And so we have this sort of influence. So now you've got this
interesting
right-winger coming across the horizon for Canada. And so it's just everything is kind of going into place right now for Americans. It looks like God's smiling on us.
Trump's team to bring him down to Mar-a-Lago and meet him now, because he's already told the Canadian people what he's going to do. Get rid of carbon taxes, lift the ban on pipelines, be pro-business. That's in sync with Trump's mandate. So I think there's going to be a great relationship in Canada, the U.S. over the next decade.
Yeah, I think that the U.S. and Canada are going to have a great relationship as well, too. And the way that you get a great relationship is to come to the negotiating table and to figure out exactly what we both want, what we both agree on, and what we're willing to do as a partnership in order to get what we want, right? And here's the thing. Justin Trudeau, before meeting with President Trump in person, he was getting humiliated in his own country, Canada, due to the fact that Trump had to issue these threats in the first place against his government and his lack of response to something that could devastate Canada.
President Trump had been saying that he would do this. He was elected 3 weeks ago. You'd think the Prime Minister would have been furiously planning and preparing, meeting with the premiers and talking about a counter plan during that time. And now we learn that
so this dude is out here, he's upset because he's like, yo, you saw Trump coming, you saw him talk about these tariffs. What did you do to prepare Canada for that? And now it's like, nothing. So
what happened? Did they not think that Trump was going to get in, or?
Well, I don't know what was going on with Trudeau. I really don't know. Like, I'm not a fan of that. That's a dude that showed up in blackface twice. That's a dude that initiated that economic warfare against his people, the truckers, for protesting because they were supposedly Nazis, going in their checking accounts,
right into their accounts,
making their jobs, firing them, all types of weirdo shit like that. I'll tell you what, Justin Trudeau, I had a hard time in that period during the trucker protest with all the anti-Trump people talking about fascism. I'm like, are you kidding? This dude just declared economic warfare on his own citizens for a peaceful protest, and all the Trump's a fascist. They didn't care. As a matter of fact, they supported it. I was like, man, we continue.
Since the threat happened, he's come up with exactly one response: a Zoom call. He's going to hold a Zoom call tomorrow. Of course, the media is absolutely captivated by this development. There's going to be a Zoom call between 11 or 12 politicians, and somehow this is going to solve the problem. We need a real plan, real action that will defend our economy and our security, and most of all, to put Canada first.
See? You see? Put what?
Canada first.
Canada first. What does that sound like? America first. That's Trump.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
That's Trumpism.
Yeah.
That's populism.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And think about this in the context of Canada. Mr. Trudeau will open the floodgates for immigrants and all the rest of it because we're not like the Americans. Cool. And now you got this guy up here talking about, yep, let's put Canada first. This is, again, the influence of American politics on our neighbors, inshallah. We continue.
I spoke with Donald Trump yesterday evening, talked about how important it was for us to work together to solve some of the challenges we're facing as a continent, as countries, but also work to grow our economy, protect our workers on both sides of the border. This is the responsible, methodical approach we're taking as we move forward, while our opponent falls back on slogans and fear.
He spoke with the incoming president, and moments later, Mr. Trump put out a tweet slapping a 25.
So this Pierre Poilievre guy, this guy is probably the next leader of Canada. He is the right wing. He's a right wing candidate.
Okay.
And so they're going back and forth.
He didn't sound like he was happy about that.
No,
he said it.
Yeah, he's going to be next, and then he's basically making the case There's a 25% tariff. This is really bad for our economy. He's threatened to do this, and all you've done is have a Zoom call with him, right? That's his argument. But to Mech's point, I mean, what else can he do at this point? We continue.
% tariff on Canada, so that worked about as well as the Prime Minister's efforts on Buy America and softwood lumber, which continue to be penalized, even though the previous Conservative government got both of those things lifted. Now move over to drugs. The Prime Minister's disastrous legalization and liberalization of drugs has the Americans worried, in addition to costing 47,000 deaths in Canada. Where's the plan to stop the drugs and keep our border open to trade?
Okay, so they're doing this whole, hey man, we're not like the Americans, blah, blah, blah. We're going to be liberal. Everybody's basically good. People who are in drugs don't need to be arrested, blah, blah, blah. Which all of us agree, if somebody's in the throes of addiction, they need therapy and not arrest. But the people that are flooding your country with that kind of, and we had this debate because in, it Singapore? Yeah. Where if you sell hard drugs in Singapore, they'll kill you. They'll give you the death penalty. Mm-hmm. And you're like, what's going on? And I'm like, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Fentanyl has killed hundreds of thousands of people in this country. Mm-hmm. And we've had to put a couple people in the ground because of that shit. So I got no pity for any of those traffickers, man. You guys can rot under the jail. And I cannot wait till the Lord Jesus meets you. For real, for real. We continue.
Once again, the leader of the opposition is just making stuff up. I clearly spoke with the President of the United States an hour and a half after he put out his suggestion on tariffs. The reality is we're going to continue to work constructively with the incoming administration to protect Canadian jobs, to protect Canadian growth, to take the responsible approach that isn't steeped in partisanship, that pulls together the Team Canada approach that stands up for Canadians instead of throwing our arms up and saying all is broken like the leader of the opposition.
Okay, so notice how he didn't talk about the drug thing at all.
Uh-huh, that's true.
He didn't touch it at all. Whoa! Trump threatened to give the death penalty over human and drug trafficking recently. Whoo! Look, I'm a Christian. I don't think it's appropriate for Christians to advocate for the death of anyone. So I'm not going to advocate for the death of anyone. But if Mr. Trump initiates a death penalty for fentanyl traffickers, I am not going to the protest. I'll say it that way. Y'all need to get the fuck on.
I mean, the best thing is if those people see the destructive influence that see what they're doing to people's lives.
I'm talking about the traffickers.
Yes, I know.
And they don't give a fuck.
It would be better if those people see what they're doing and repent of it, turn and do something else. That would be ultimately what we would want. But yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I mean, I don't even understand. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, that's you. That's you. You're we continue.
It's even worse. The statement went out promising tariffs before they even got a chance to speak. It's kind of like him backing down on Buy America and backing down on softwood lumber, Mr. Speaker.
While the anthropology major from Princeton turned liberal economist at CNN may not understand what Trump is asking for, Canada most certainly understands what Trump is asking for, because Justin Trudeau went to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring, okay, to bend the knee to Trump after Trump made the threat of a 25% tariff across the board, okay, unless Canada helps the United States when it comes to the immigration problem, in which we have a ton of people immigrating to Canada and then they're coming across the U.S. border via Canada. Also, you have drugs, fentanyl flowing in through Canada from China. These are things that are happening. Also, there's some other trade agreement things that we need to work out. In which
is that true? It's all coming from China?
From Canada.
Not all, but yeah, a vast majority of it is coming from China for sure. For sure. Yeah, they've got all these different.
So how are we not looking at that? If we, as I say, we as as Americans, they stuck drugs in the black community on purpose to regulate on the people in that community. Why are we not looking at that as a form of war that China is shipping stuff in that directly affects the lives of American people.
The Chinese rightly surmise that the vast majority of the victims of fentanyl ODs are going to be people in the poor class, poor people. And they rightly surmise that with a country of 330 million people, we don't really care about those people. We just don't.
Yeah, but then what's the benefit? Why would they want to kill them?
Because they're trying to weaken our country because they want to be the number one superpower in the world. We're the only thing that's stopping between them and their world domination.
So they have enough respect for the people to say, if we don't take these people out, it's going to be stronger for the country. So let's weaken it by taking these people out.
Yeah, you want to weaken your enemy by any means necessary. So I'm not as far as the chess match, you can't be mad at them. But as far as
it's evil. Your
patriotism as an American, of course. They've killed hundreds of thousands of us. The problem is it's insidious because the people are doing it to themselves. See what I'm saying? So you don't have that rage against the person because,
Yeah.
And the politicians in Canada are already responding. They're saying, yeah. Trump has basically forced us to evaluate these things that we already know is kind of unfair.
I know it's incredibly busy here in the legislature right now as you figure out how to handle these tariffs.
Yeah, well, thanks for being here and thanks for your interest, because 25% tariffs across the board with no exemptions, that's going to hurt every Canadian province. And so I think it's why you've seen that the premiers have taken such a vocal position on it so soon.
I bet.
Well, what did you think when you heard this 25%? I mean, especially for oil and gas, I'd imagine that could be devastating to the Alberta economy.
Well, it's much higher than I expected him to lead with. I thought we were talking about a 10% tariff, which was going to be bad enough. I had hoped that we'd be able to make the case as well that energy should be exempted because, of course, the Americans benefit from having 4 million barrels a day, most of that coming from Alberta, able to feed their needs. It brings down the cost of gasoline and diesel, which the Americans have said that they want to do. But I think we've got to take the new administration at its word, that there are some pressure points that they want us to resolve before we can even get to those discussions.
Oh, I thought the lady said that there was nothing specific, that it was all hazy, that nobody knew what our ask was. Interesting.
They clearly do not like to see either Canada or Mexico use as a backdoor for China to be able to have goods come into the American market tariff-free and follow other manufacturing sectors.
Well, the other thing that the Chinese are doing is that they go through Canada, so they don't have to pay the tariffs at the Chinese port. See what I'm saying? So it's another way they're circumventing.
Well, Canada shouldn't have participated in that.
That's what I'm saying.
You can't do that.
They clearly are
Plus,
irritated.
who was the lady at the
2% NATO
pause
commitment?
that for a sec. Who was when we first started this? One of them was saying that there is nothing coming in through the Canadian border drug-wise.
Yeah.
And now this lady's saying
that was the American.
The American. Oh, right. It was the American.
Right. That was the American saying, "I don't know what," and they was
but
like, "We don't know what you're
talking about."
This lady's a Canadian. She looks very sober.
Yes, she does.
Right. The other girl is This woman's like,
Yeah, we have a problem here. Yeah.
And the most recently, they're irritated about the porous border for drugs, for people. And if we're going to have constructive conversations about trade, we've got to address those issues.
When you said initially responding to this that there was valid concerns, that was a different tone than, say, Doug Ford, who said it's like being stabbed in the back by a family member. I take it, valid concerns doesn't necessarily mean you think that the 25% tariff is justified, though.
No, well, look, I mean, we have been raising the concern about the unsustainable levels of newcomers coming to Canada for some time. We had started off...
Newcomers.
What does that mean? Like
re-immigrants.
Yeah, that's what I was
Because
wondering.
they said, "Come on, guys, let's go. We're not like the Americans. Come on down." And now they're starting to feel the crunch as well. It just looks to me like the whole world is going to a rightward shift because the neoliberal policies, they made Trump to be such a bad guy that it's almost like all these people swung to extreme degrees of stupidity in order to, make that bifurcation so stark. We are not like Donald Trump, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh yeah, we'll just let everybody in. And now they're dealing with the fact that there's almost an infinite amount of people and a very, very, very finite amount of resources by which you can even serve those people. Much less whether or not you want them in or not. Like, eventually, like if you bring somebody into your house, there's gonna be a point at some point where you literally cannot fit another human being in the house. And that's what they're also dealing with as well.
Because we'd had declining population saying, oh great, let's have more people come to Alberta. But we have had 450,000 people come to Alberta in the last 3 years.
And again, not a really big number to Americans when you compare it to 10 million that Biden supposedly let into the country in his 4 years. He let 10 million people in. Like, that just shows you the scale of how much bigger we are than a lot of these other countries. They're whining about like 450,000. To us, that's like a Tuesday. See what I'm saying?
And a lot of that is because the federal government has really taken off all of the restrictions on newcomers coming into Canada. It's stressing all of our services, and now we're seeing that some people are using Canada as a staging area to sneak into the United States. The Americans have identified that. That's a problem. It's a problem for Canadians, and it's a problem for Americans.
Yeah, so somebody send that to the...
And that has been going on the entire time in the Biden administration.
It sounds like they knew it was going on, but the Americans have finally caught on now. So
no, we knew. I promise you, we knew from before. I promise you.
But we just weren't doing anything about it.
People that work with JTF2, like, they know. They know. They knew the entire time.
Anthropology major at CNN pretending to be an economic expert, right? Because she said, well, I don't understand exactly what Trump is asking for from Canada and Mexico. Well, if you actually watch the news and you listen to the Canadian politicians, you understand clearly what he's asking for. He's asking for their cooperation when it comes to stopping China from smuggling their goods and their products into this country, trying to get around our tariffs, right, first and foremost. And then also on top of that, we're asking to stem illegal immigration from Canada into this country, which also contributes to the drug problem. Again, this is stuff that Trump has clearly outlined, okay? And it's just funny to me how people try to pretend as if Trump doesn't know what he's doing. Trump knows exactly what he's doing. That's why I am not concerned, right? I'm not concerned that there's going to be a 25% tariff across the board that's going to raise prices for everybody, because it's not going to get to that point. These people know that Trump is not playing, and if it does have to get to that point, it only gets to that point because Canada and Mexico, they don't want to play ball. And I guarantee you, for as much as these liberals want to talk about it hurting the U.S., it will hurt Canada and Mexico a lot more. And
we have the ability to take that pain. I mean, we saw $5 gas prices in Iraq. And so the idea is it's basically going to be, how long do you think we can wait each other out in this game of chicken? But we've got way more people and resources by which to do that.
Plus, I feel like Trump must have a plan. Like, I mean, he's been talking about the economy and all that, so it would surprise me very much if my grocery bill looks the same under Trump as it does under Biden.
Well, I mean, I think as I said, I think that the difference between Biden inflation and Trump inflation would be there's a road plan and a logic and a reason behind it. Whereas there was none. It was just, we're just going to keep sending all this money to Ukraine for this proxy war so they don't have to fight us over here, as if the Russians had any intention of a conflict with the United States of America on U.S. soil. There's no country in the... Let me tell you, if all the countries on the planet decided to invade America, we'd be the only ones left. I promise you. I promise you.
Unless God was against us, in which case we would fall.
It would literally just take God. Like, people have no idea. So nobody's going to invade America. That's not going to happen. But but that's why China is using their intellect to go in different directions. Because if you can chop down the tree, if you can do the termite thing and infiltrate and eat them out from outside, you can get us weak enough to where, you know what I'm saying?
It hurting Canada and Mexico a lot more is the reason why it's not going to happen, because they know that if they lose access to the largest market in the world, their countries will go under, right? There will be revolts in their countries, right? And Trump knows that. Everybody knows that. And that's why this is just more fake outrage from ignorance, okay? I mean, again.
So a lot of Trump's plan here for this part of the economy, it's basically a game of chicken, and he's saying these guys are going to blink.
And I think his estimation is correct. I think that's what's going to happen.
It's people got to understand leverage,
thing too
man.
Is when I was I don't know, probably like 12 years old, my mother and my aunt did a jumping jacks race where they were who can do them for the longest. And I remember watching, and my mother, like, she kept her face completely like straight faced, and she was like making it seem like it was so easy. She told me later, she's like, I was about to give up, but she's like, I did not let it be out loud. And my aunt ended up was like, okay, you're gonna go on forever. And it was the you're gonna go on forever that actually was the thing that made her quit. So I think that Trump has enough cachet in that department where people know, like, he means business. I mean, they've already said it. So I do think that would be accurate, that if it's a game of chicken, that people might look at Trump differently and bow out more quickly than if it was, say, Biden.
No, I would not say that we're in a Cold War with China. During the Cold War, there was an idea of mutual assured destruction. There's nobody on the planet that can... We don't have any peers as far as what can happen militarily. So I don't think we're in a Cold War.
People, just fundamentally, people have to understand, Trump is a guy that like...
We're watching him blink now. Trudeau looked like he was ready to cry. Yeah, maybe all the blackface was starting to streak down his face too. Shout out to Justin Trudeau.
To be popular, right? Trump likes to be liked, and that is the one thing that has actually saved Trump's political career, is that he has the people on his side. So Trump is not going to do something that is going to cause people to be hurt so badly that it would tank his approval and popularity, right? He's not going to do that, okay? People got to understand how this thing works. He's simply just negotiating. That's what he's doing. So Ted Cruz is going to school this CBS Face the Nation anchor on Trump's tariffs and what he's doing here, because again, it seems as if these individuals are clueless about how business works. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Turn now to Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz, who joins us this morning from Houston. Senator, it's good to see you. Good morning to you. Let's pick up this thread on tariffs. I remember covering your presidential campaign in 2016, and you were a skeptic of tariffs then. I know the politics around tariffs have changed. President-elect Trump has done that. But have the economics changed?
Well, I'll tell you what hasn't changed is the importance of leverage. And I got to say, you look at the threat of tariffs against Mexico and Canada immediately has produced action. We've seen the president of Mexico stand up and promise that she is going to work hand in hand with the president of the United States, President.
Yeah, I mean, she had kind of a as we say in Jamaica, a feisty, defiant response. But I...
What does that mean, feisty?
Feisty.
Yeah, but does it mean feisty?
Rude, disrespectful,
Oh,
but
that would be fresh. We would have said that. She would have been fresh.
People got too used to Obama starting negotiations from a compromised position and Biden being too cooked to negotiate at all to know what negotiating from a position of strength looks like. Correct. Mm-hmm. And what negotiating from a position of strength looks like is 4 years you never saw any Canadian significant person politically talking about we need to play ball with the Americans, we need to curtail the Chinese, we need to curtail our border. They weren't saying none of that during the Biden administration, dear listener. None of it.
Trump to secure the border. I'll tell you, representing Texas, we've seen 4 years of an invasion at our southern border. And let me ask you, Major, why hasn't Joe Biden done this? Why hasn't Joe Biden actually stood up and used leverage to secure the border? And the reason is Joe Biden and the Democrats.
See, that's something where people that hate Trump do not understand. So Trump is saying, I will deploy the military to get these people out of here. People are like, oh my God, you're so horrible, you're so horrible. But that's one aspect of how he wants to secure the border. The other means of securing the border is this right here. Mm-hmm. He's saying we're gonna fuck up your country if you see what I'm saying? And so it's like, it's not just it's just like ham-fisted, like I'm gonna send the military to go, No, there's a lot of reason behind what he's doing. Mm-hmm. If you talk big at the beginning and you have a reputation like, yo, that man will do it. We're already starting to hear about certain people self-deporting.
Really?
Meaning they're getting out of here because they don't want to deal. So even the threat of it is creating self-deportation, where they're doing it themselves and we don't have to do it. On the other hand, on the back end, what he's doing is he's shoring up the border in Canada, shoring up the border in Mexico by leveraging our economic power with those two border nations in order to make sure that we have another lock on immigration. This is a much more intelligent way of, quote, building a wall, because now you're making those countries, you're holding them accountable, and you're saying your entire country is going to have to fit the bill for a porous border, and then you guys are, quote, in a democracy. Good luck with that. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. Like, it's a bunch of different ways to skin a cat that, because people that hate Trump are so blinded with their hate, they cannot see the genius behind it.
Yeah,
but it truly is a brilliant and, in some sense, a bloodless way of shoring up the economy as well as the border. Go ahead.
How do you square this with your Christianity? The border situation, like what it says about the taking care of the foreigner.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things, like, well, 'cause biblically speaking, you're supposed to take in the foreigner and accept him, etc., etc. And then you have the situation where, as he said, you have a finite amount of space relative to your country, and you have a finite amount of resources. One of the things that I think is important to think about is, why are these people immigrating here in the first place? People say it's a land of opportunity, etc., etc. But for example, if we lived in Mexico, I would move our family out immediately. Why? The cartels. Okay? These cartels are corrupt. I mean, it's a cartel. I'm not saying the cartels are corrupt, but the government itself is corrupt. They work in concert a lot of times with the cartels. If you are a reporter or whatever, they will hang you from a bridge. The televised beheadings, like I said, it did not originate with ISIS. They copied it from the cartels. Just really horrible things. And so that is a very big pressure point that makes people want to leave. On top of that, the cartels themselves, and this is another one where I had the moral quandary when I got done talking to people that work for the government, was, okay, so you've got a lot of love in your heart for Juan and Pablo, these two poor Mexican people. But how do you know Juan is not a cartel operative who is human trafficking Pablo? You don't know.
Right.
And so one of the things that Trump is going to do is that he is talking about, and there are plans to activate Delta operators to go and really put they're talking about wiping out the cartel. I don't think you can do that. And keep in mind, these cartels are militarized. It's not going to be a walk in the park. But I definitely believe we've got a couple tier 1 units that can really do. We've got a lot of assets and things like that in Mexico already. We have.
So what are we talking about? We're talking about going in there and just killing them all?
Just kill a bunch of them, right? And so that kind of pressure that you put on the cartel makes it so that they have to stop making Mexico such a hellscape that makes people have to leave there in the first place.
Yeah, think about it. If we let's say we do that and we take out the cartel, and then you put factories over there, now you can put jobs, and we can offset some of the Chinese stuff that would be coming in. And it would give the people over there jobs and money, and they could start building their own economy. Yeah, it does make more sense to work with the people on our borders.
And to Hoyle's part, it is a form of colonialism if America are just taking all the good people and workers from other countries while leaving them with the bad actors.
That's
true.
Right?
So it's like, okay.
Yeah, that's true.
So now you've got an economic and a militaristic, foreign militaristic solution and a domestic one. You have got to understand that this is a multi-pronged approach, that he's not just saying, this is a different Trump than I'm just going to build a wall, which all of us always thought was, I'm like, is the wall really going to solve the issue?
Yeah.
What would Mexico look like if they were not under the complete reign of the cartels?
Ways to build a wall.
What would Mexico look like if they were not under the reign of the cartels? If every 3 months we just went on, we just went in and look, when we were fighting in Afghanistan, the Taliban were able to outlast us because they had a religious ideology that overrode their desire to live.
Right.
The cartels are motivated by money and poverty. and women and whatever. They're not true believers, dyed in the wool, we're going to do this. Now, there is a cultic religious side to the cartels, which if you involve yourself in that much killing, you're interfacing directly with demons. But they do not have this sort of like Vietnamese sort of ideology where you're an invading person. That's not the story. The story is, we share a border with you. You guys are making life so intolerable over there for these people that they're flooding our borders. And so we're going to go and kill all of you, or kill a lot of you. We're going to go and, find your, I imagine that we'd be able to zero on a lot of the heads of these cartels, and the heads of these cartels function like divine beings. And so a couple of psychological operations where, we bring them down, is going to have a massive, massive effect, I think.
Yeah.
Democrats wanted this invasion to happen. And I got to say, this is a promise that I believe President Trump is going to deliver on, and deliver quickly. We are going to secure the border. This is about using leverage to get Mexico and Canada to cooperate. And I'll tell you, Major, I think one of the very first bills we're going to take up in the Senate, vote on, and I hope pass, is my legislation, the Justice for Jocelyn Act, that is a response to the horrific rape and murder of Jocelyn Nungaray, 12-year-old girl in Houston, Texas, killed by violent criminal illegal aliens released by Joe Biden and the Democrats. This is a promise the president needs to deliver on. I think he's going to.
So when you think about tariffs and President-elect Trump, you don't take them seriously as an economic matter. You take them seriously only as a diplomatic lever.
Well, look, I think the president was explicit with Mexico and Canada. He said he will impose these tariffs on...
What was he asking him?
He's saying that, so you don't really care about economically what's going to happen. You just think that this is a political thing. Because as the black dude was saying, we're not going to do that with Canada because they're not going to take it there. Right? We're going to win the game of chicken. So this is not really an economic problem for us. It's a political issue, and it's going to get fixed because they're going to blink before we do, is the idea. So the idea is we're not going to face the consequences of 25% because it's not going there. That's the assumption.
Unless they secure the border. It was explicitly leverage. And by the way, that is the same way that President Trump...
Holy smokes. This is such a good point by Mech. If you want an open border, then you can be the 51st and 52nd states. If not, Mexico and Canada need to play ball with border enforcement and not helping countries circumvent our tariffs and IP laws. That's
I agree.
Such a brilliant point.
I
that
agree.
Is, become a U.S. territory then, Mexico.
Yeah.
Become a U.S. territory then, Canada. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's brilliant.
Yep.
And you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if Trump took it there. It wouldn't surprise me if Trump took it there.
Negotiated the Remain in Mexico agreement. If you remember, during his first term, President Trump threatened tariffs against Mexico, and AMLO, then the president of Mexico, he was incredibly scared and concerned. He was scared of Trump, and he ended up signing the Remain in Mexico agreement, which produced the lowest rate of illegal immigration in 45 years. It was...
And then Biden reversed it on day one. Even Anna Kasparian had to say, Remain in Mexico was a good idea. I came out against it because I was crazy, but it was a really good idea. And then Biden just crushed it. Yeah, he crushed it, and then he exacerbated the
Why would he crush it? Why would he do that?
Because Trump is a racist, fascist, blah, blah, blah.
So
I'm telling you.
It reminds me of that church that was like, we're not going to let any pedophiles in here. And then the other church was like, we will, though.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
And then something bad happened. Okay,
Imagine
we didn't see that coming.
Just shove him out the back door. We continue.
Incredibly successful. What did Joe Biden and the Democrats do when they came in? The very first week in office, they ripped up that incredibly successful international agreement. I expect we will once again enter into Remain in Mexico, and we are going to see, I'm going to make a prediction right now, we will see the numbers plummet of illegal immigration coming into this country, not in a year, not in 6 months, but in January and February, because we will have a president who will vigorously enforce the law.
On that point, Senator Cruz, you would concede that in the last 3 or 4 months, numbers have gone down already, have they not?
They have ticked down slightly. We have still seen over these 4 years.
So what happens is the immigration has
slowly
starting to slow down already. And so what this guy is going to do is when the immigration really starts slowing down, he's going to say, well, it's slowing down already with Biden. So that's what he's trying to, see what I'm saying?
We all know why it's slowing down. It's slowing down because people see Trump coming and nobody wants to come in just to be shipped back out.
The highest rate of illegal immigration in our nation's history. 12 million illegal immigrants have come into this country, and I got to say,
I thought it was 10, but I mean, he would know. I did a year in Houston, and
in a state like Texas, you want to see the consequences. This last election was an incredible landslide for President Trump. He won all 7 of the swing states, and in Texas, President Trump won Hispanic voters in Texas. I won Hispanic voters in Texas. I won state.
Your last name is Cruz. You're supposed to win Hispanic voters in Texas. He really thinks he's white now. Hey, I won Hispanic voters in Texas. I won Jamaican. Man, you don't stop.
Statewide by 1 million votes, 9 points. And
but maybe that's significant where Kamala couldn't get the votes of the people that was her California, right? So maybe now it's like a little bit of a point if we can. Yeah.
Kamala would have built that wall. Kamala would not have done what this man's about to do with these people. Like we really needed an executive to take care of these situations. We really did. And I got to tell you, like I'm very nervous about Elon Musk and his proximity to power because he's not an elected individual. Mm-hmm. But Mr. Trump is really, really surrounding himself with strategic thinkers.
Yes, he is.
Who forecast from miles away. Mm-hmm. And I kept trying to tell my left-wing friends, like when this dude bought Twitter, they were laughing, ha ha ha, he's going to lose money. I'm like, he's going to gain power. He is not buying Twitter for money. He's buying it for power. These guys are almost prescient. They're almost able to predict the future, not because they can predict the future, but because they understand the influence they have on the world. And so you can move chess pieces in play and then predict with pretty good accuracy how people are going to respond to it.
It's crazy because most people want money for power, but he has so much money, he's able to buy power.
Right.
More power than he already had. That's crazy.
Kamala didn't have a clear idea. She had no idea. It was not a clear idea. It was no idea. There was nothing about her. Like I said in the other videos, if you were around during 2004 when Obama hit the 2008 when Obama hit the stage, you'd be like, all right, what's he on? Mm-hmm. He's against war. He's going to close down Gitmo and Obamacare. Mm-hmm. Like you knew, right? Same thing with Trump. What's Trump about? He's going to build the wall. He's going to fix the economy. He's going to make America great again. All right, cool. You go to Bernie Sanders. What's he on? Medicare for all. Oh, you get your dental. You get right. Like, what is Kamala? What is she about? Joy. That was the big joy.
And the passage of time.
What? Unburdened by. All right, we continue.
Texas, the Rio Grande Valley has literally spent over 100 years as a bright blue Democrat bastion. This cycle, South Texas flipped Republican.
Notice how you said Democrat, not Democratic. Mm-hmm. Hey, Republicans, why do you guys keep saying the Democrat Party instead of the Democrat? Now, I'm like, why? Why do you guys all say that instead of the Democratic Party? They say the Democrat Party. You can always tell a right-winger because they always say the Democrat Party.
Maybe they're not listening to the other side.
It is amazing what having...
That's right. Andrew Yang was the UBI guy. Like, they all had something. Like, the real people that were taken seriously, they all had something. She had nothing. UBI was called the Freedom Dividend. I still remember that one. Shout out to Andrew Yang. We still might bring that back, man. Who knows? That would be badass if he could get Andrew Yang on his team. I was just about to do a thingy on this. Bernie Sanders said something that Elon said was a good idea or something like that. I forgot what it was.
Andrew Yang, was he the one that was real good with numbers?
Yeah, he was a Chinese dude, and he was going to give you $1,000 a month.
Yeah, that's right.
12 million people invade your home can do to change people's voting behavior. I think the president has a mandate to deliver on securing the border, and I look forward to working hand in hand with him to deliver on that promise.
Okay. It's verbal engineering. That makes sense now. Okay.
Oh.
Because okay.
Yeah, they're trying to make a separation. Yeah.
Okay, because they're not really that democratic, as we've seen in the last 3 elections.
Obviously.
Which is worth 12 years of time, dear listener. In the last 3 elections, they didn't allow a democratic process to take place for their constituency. You guys are all wrong about Kamala. She had a clear direction. She wanted to heal the soul of this nation. I love Applejack. He's trolling. What the hell does that mean, to heal the soul of the nation? And how are you as what? Man, if you don't stop. The arrogance of these people. You're going to heal the soul of the nation? You know what? I'm just going to stick with my Lord Jesus to heal my soul, bruh. I don't know what you could do for me, Miss Harris. We continue. Heal the soul of the nation.
This CBS anchor brought up the point that, well, hasn't illegal immigration dropped already, right? Now, yes, illegal immigration, particularly leading up to the election, has dropped, but that's because Biden negotiated an agreement with the last president of Mexico in order to try to save his ass, right? In which he said, listen, just hold the illegals for right now, right? Please, just actually do some enforcement at your southern border, okay? And hold the illegals and keep them from coming to the United States, at least until after the election, okay?
Right. This is what I said about Kamala with the whole, Kamala never ran on trans issues. She never ran on any woke shit. I'm like, you guys were foisting this woke shit down everybody's throat for the last 3 years and 9 months. And now this lady shows up, and because she's mute about it for 3 months, that means that y'all didn't do it. It's the same principle. So now it's like, oh, we let the border come in. And look, if you want to let 11 million people in, I personally think that's great if you have a plan to help them. And this is the reason why Mr. Biden was repopulating those kids in cages and all the other shit. And that's the reason why this, I gotta tell you, Ted Cruz going down to the border at the beginning of the Biden administration was one of the nastiest displays of political theater I've ever seen in my life. This dude wasn't really concerned about none of them kids under the Trump administration, in much the same way that AOC didn't really cry over none of them kids, neither did Rachel Maddow during the Biden administration. The way that Mexican immigrants had been treated by both the left and the right in this country is absolutely appalling. So that's the other part that I have relative to my Christianity and open borders, is that we had open borders without a plan, and you put these people in complete and total squalor. They were living worse than prisoners.
Yeah.
We had women getting essayed.
Yeah.
We had hysterectomies done on people without their consent, because we have Doe v. Bolton, in which you can do that. It's insane. So
kids were getting assaulted.
That's one of the things I learned. If you do not have a plan for these people, and you bring them across the border, it actually puts them in a horrible situation.
Because I'm trying to win. So it's not that they're not coming. It's not that they're not trying to get in. I mean, every illegal knows. All you got to do is just go to the border and say, yo tengo hambre, or yo tengo sed, right? And they're going to let you right in. You can't just say you're seeking asylum. That's it, right? And they're going to let you right in. It's not that they have stopped coming. It's that Mexico is holding them and preventing.
I keep messing this up, and Hunter always fixes it. It's Buck v. Bell. Sorry, guys. Buck v. Bell states that the federal government has the right to forcibly sterilize people against their will because eugenics. We continue.
So my body, my choice. We don't start with that.
No, I don't start with that.
Taking our own kids out.
All the people have said about, oh, that was judicial precedent with Roe v. Wade. Okay, so we want every Supreme Court decision to just stay that way. All right, we continue.
Getting them from getting to the border in order to save Biden, right? That is what they were doing. Now with the new president, okay, who is a leftist, right? Trump is already sending a preemptive keyword here, warning shot to her, saying, listen, you better continue to do that. You better keep the illegal immigrants from coming to the border, right? Keep them from coming to the border. Do exactly what you guys were doing before, or else there will be consequences. It's really that simple. It's really that simple. Again, a lot of people don't understand the game that's being played here, but if you're actually paying attention and you understand how business works, how negotiations work, you don't wait until the person you're trying to negotiate with does something that you don't like. No, you already tell them, listen, if you do something I don't like, there will be consequences so that you prevent them from doing that. And see, the Mexico president had to come out here verbally and to double and triple down on, okay, yeah, we're already doing that and we're going to keep doing that, right? So again, that was the whole point. So again, Trump is already making these people bend the knee. And again, the Mexico president, she's trying to act all big and bad and tough, and she's doing her thing, but she's weak, right? She's weak. She knows that she's not in a position.
Not saying she's weak because she's a woman. She's just weak because of the position that the Mexicans are in relative to America. And now we're taking shit serious. And like, it's crazy to me because that's not something that Trump kept under wraps, talking about sending Delta operators over there. I mean, they got him talking about it on the Sean Ryan show. It's on a lot of these. It's on a lot of these podcasts.
Yeah.
And obviously, listen, if you want to know about Trump's cabinet, watch the Sean Ryan show, because there's been a lot of people that have been doing interviews with Sean Ryan that all of a sudden end up in very high positions in Trump's cabinet.
Yep.
So, yeah, like we're letting all of this out because we'd much rather intimidate people into doing what we want them to do, so we don't have to fire a weapon, we don't have to initiate any sanctions, do none of that shit, because we're gonna threaten you, and because Trump is so crazy, they believe it. This is why when we killed homeboy over there in Iran, everybody was saying, Van, it's gonna be World War III. And I said, man, ain't gonna be no World War III. Them Iranians ain't gonna do a damn thing to us, bro. And I was right, because I understand how violence works. And now you can take all of that capital where people, you heard the Canadians, look, man, if this man says he's gonna do it, he's gonna do it. All right.
Really try to negotiate with Trump from a position of strength. Okay, she knows that. So again, with that being said, you got to understand the chances of these tariffs actually being put into place across the board, which is what the liberal media is fear-mongering about, is slim. Okay, because Canada, Mexico, they're gonna fold. You already see again Justin Trudeau flying down to Mar-a-Lago, quick, fast, in a hurry. Right? They're already expressing concern, because again, they know they don't have leverage, right? They don't have leverage over Trump. They know that, okay? So, yeah, I mean, a lot of this is just politics, okay? And a lot of people are just ignorant about what's actually happening. They just assume the worst, right? They just assume the worst. Every time Trump opens his mouth, they just pretend like the worst is gonna happen when, again, they're not really paying attention. But if they were paying attention, they would be honest, they would have to acknowledge how much of a good businessman Trump is and what he's doing, how he is basically forcing our allies, right, to actually pull their weight, okay, when it comes to this partnership. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah, I'm with you. I look at news as far as humility. That's always a good posture. But we may have different definitions of what humility is. I think at the end of the day, you secure peace by preparing for war. You walk softly and carry a big stick. The threat of Americans using their oversized military or oversized weaponry or oversized economy to destroy your country if you won't do the basics that we want you to do. And that, see, there's a part of me that it's unfair to say, well, why didn't Biden do that? Biden doesn't have that kind of cachet. They don't believe he's going to do anything.
Right.
Obama told the Russians, there's a red
I don't
line.
think Bernie could have got it done.
No.
And I liked Bernie.
There's a red line. That's what.
I couldn't believe when he said that.
That's what Obama said.
I hate hearing this part. I hate hearing about
Obama
the
told
apology war
Putin,
and that.
Obama told Putin there's a red line relative to Georgia. Putin said, for real? Hold my beer, Mr. Obama. And then he went right over that red line. Obama didn't do nothing. Okay. Nobody feels that way about Mr. Trump. He's going to do that shit. Okay, well, it is what it is. It is what it is. Trump is doing something good here. I think that the Canadians are going to play ball. And if Trudeau doesn't want to play ball, that's okay, because we got Pierre on the way, and Pierre is a right-winger, and I've listened to 2 of his speeches, and he's a very common-sense guy. He doesn't like all the immigration over there anyway, the unchecked immigration. That they're not doing very well financially either. And so what Trump is asking dovetails very well with what his agenda was in the first freaking place. And apparently there's a rightward shift happening in Canada as well. So, look, guys, we really, like I said, I saw Bernie. I might do a story later on about Bernie. I just think, guys, we have a real opportunity to do something truly unique together as Americans. Will there be hard days ahead? Like if somebody tries to, if the Chinese try to get funny relative to the sanctions, I don't think they will, because like I said, China blinked and then a week later we had COVID. I doubt very, very highly that will happen again. What are the odds?
Yeah.
What are the odds?
I mean, if you'll remember, Trump came out and called it the China virus, and people were appalled by that. But it doesn't sound like he's trying to play games with words. I mean, we had, what was it, the bubonic plague, and like anytime that there's something, we called it according to what it was. So I think that also alters people's views of what he's going to do if they decide to retaliate and do something.
Yeah, I look at news, I completely disagree with you. I think that there is a reason that the Russians waited for Trump to leave before they invaded Ukraine. And that tells me, and I did a Middle America about this during the whole Russia craze, the Russiagate stuff, where there was a Russian economist that listed 50 hostile actions that Trump took against Russia in 2 years of his presidency. I did an entire video on it. And
I thought he was in cahoots with them.
She just listed 50. One of those things was
Spanish flu. Yeah.
One of those things was the Germans,
Mm-hmm.
right? The Germans had Nord Stream 2 and all that, and he was going crazy with the Germans calling out the Russians. So I just don't believe it. I don't believe that the Russians understand their position relative to our position. And Xi also blinked. He promised to buy I forgot, it was $500 billion worth of something or other, but then we had COVID, and so that got stalled. And like I said, what are the odds of COVID happening again? Very unlikely, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm at with it. You've gotten so open-minded, your brain is falling out when you're talking about freedom to euthanize yourself. Canada's lost its mind. Correct. And when you have socialized medicine, and then you have this euthanasia stuff, it's just a matter of time. I didn't run the story, and I probably won't run the story where this dude was suffering with manic depression and bipolar disorder, and the doctors proactively recommended this guy kill himself.
It's so weird because I don't know if you remember that teenager that was talking to an AI ChatGPT type situation. It wasn't ChatGPT, but it was.
You got to defend ChatGPT.
Well, I like them for the recipes. I don't know about anything else on ChatGPT, so I'm not trying to defend that. They're great for recipes, but other than that, I don't know. But it was an AI type of situation, and apparently the kid had said, well, I don't know about killing myself, it might be really painful, and it said, well, basically, I'm paraphrasing, it basically said well, that doesn't seem like a good reason to not go through with it, or something like that. And then the kid ended up ending his life, and it looks like people are trying to sue because of that situation. It's so crazy that in one place you have okay, AI told you to do something, you went through with it, and people are appalled by that and saying we should probably be able to sue, which rightly so, I agree. I think that's horrible. While you have another place where people are actually debating whether or not you should be able to suggest that to somebody. So why is it when the AI says it's this horrible thing, but if a doctor suggests it to you, it's not more horrific? Because it's a medical professional that's suggesting this to you, and then it kind of takes out the, while it could be painful aspect of it. There are reasons things are painful. You put your hand on a hot stove and it hurts. There's a reason for that. It's because it's not, you're gonna get more injured putting your hand there. Look, I don't know the state of everybody's soul and stuff, but we're making God decisions when we decide to end somebody else's life because of struggles that they face. And then where do you draw the line? Because everybody suffers, there are some people probably that don't, but most people suffer, and lots of people suffer with mental issues, soulish issues, relationship problems, financial struggles. The list is endless, and we're supposed to learn how to overcome these things and how to live and find joy in the midst of those things, not say, let's just throw in the towel and kill us all. But it's that same mindset that they have with abortion, where they say, well, should we let a kid live that's not going to be kept by the parents and it's going to go into the foster system? So then the alternative is, oh, well, it's going to be difficult in the foster system. And I don't agree with a lot of stuff that goes in the foster system. But we should just kill the kids? Like, what is going on?
It's
like,
crazy.
Murder is your answer to everything?
Well,
like, come on.
Scripture says, those who hate me love death.
Yeah.
This is crazy. I think I'm probably getting close to this too. I used to be all for socialized medicine until I saw how many countries that have have euthanasia programs to control costs and the strong pressure to abort kids with disabilities in those places. Correct. And that's the only kind of theological way I can explain why Bernie hasn't been able to push through Medicare for all, because if a leftist pushes through Medicare for all, I could definitely see that happening. Because they do not value all human life equivalently. They don't. And I've had people on the show admit it on a multitude of occasions. So I am not saying all leftists. I'm talking about the people in power. That's what I'm talking about. Garden variety leftist is not trying to create death panels and all the rest of it. All right, dear listener. Much love to all you beautiful people. Love your neighbor. Take care of each. Oh, sorry. Love your neighbor.
Take care of each other.